All right, ladies and gentlemen, Formula One, it never stands still, does it? You know, just when you think you understand the competitive order, just when you think you know who's fast and who's struggling in certain years, we're not about this year now necessarily, but something always changes, and a new upgrade, a new idea, a new concept, and then suddenly the entire story can shift. Now, we'd said this for the Australian Grand Prix. We still don't know. Is this going to be the real deal? Is it? Has Formula One actually changed for the very first time in probably 30 years? This is what we're looking at, lads, because if the racing gets like this, like we saw at Albert Park, oh dear God, are we in for one hell of a year here, lads. Honestly, I'm always cautious because, again, it's always the top two or three teams that always find a way through these updates, these new regulations, and it can iron out after a few races. But, you know, I hope I'm wrong, guys. Please, please. And, you know, because right now, as we head for China, the second round, there are fascinating storylines unfolding at the same time. Now, first, we've got an even surprise. Ferrari are now bringing something unusual, a radical rear wing design, and there's something they're calling the flip-flop wing. Now, we'll get into that in just a moment, but a rotating rear wing concept that literally flips upside down to reduce drag on the straights. What the F? Innovation? Well, second, Aston Martin, I mean, a team that many people expected to explode. Now, I certainly did. Maybe you're thinking different, because they've the greatest aerodynamicist in Formula One history, Adrian Newey, and yet, right now, they're struggling. And third, China itself, lads, because the Shanghai China circuit is hosting the first sprint weekend of this season, which means less practice, less preparation, which is awesome for us, of course, and tyre strategy suddenly becomes a massive factor here. Really does. Engineering battles, tyres, aerodynamics, and the strange reality of Formula One, even where the great minds in the sport sometimes need to get it right.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap one.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter Walsh. Now, let's start with Ferrari. Oh, lads, this is very exciting, honestly, because Ferrari they're bringing something pretty bold to China here. And, you know, this wasn't just made last week after Albert Park and they went, oh, lads, you know, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. And then 4 days later, they've got it all ready made. These lads have had this in the making minimum 3 or 4 months. Okay, the design, it would have been in the, I mean, guys, we can go back to even like 7-8 months ago where they might have had, let's try this new wing, lads, and let's see what happens. Then they would have manufactured it. They would have put it onto the wind tunnel. They would have tried and tested it. If it didn't work on the wind tunnel, they would have deleted it, scrapped it, thrown it into the bin, toss it out, forget it, lads, waste time. But they've tried and tested this. Now, I've always said this, you could have the greatest update on a car. Have it in the wind tunnel. It goes tremendously well. And the moment it hits tarmac, it all just goes to pieces. And that's genuinely true, lads. No matter how advanced, no matter how good Formula One teams can get something, nature speaks for itself. The reality speaks all alone, standing, shouting from the rooftop, and it will tell you exactly where you are. But you can't blame teams for trying. They have to try these things. So even if they think, yeah, that's it, lads, we've got a shoe-in for this one, still doesn't guarantee anything. But it's going to be great to see, lads, because instead of the rear wing simply adjusting angle, the design actually flips its orientation completely and upside down, which creates a larger gap to airflow, reducing drag significantly. Now, again, this is all in theory. When the car is traveling down long straights, it should reduce the drag considerably. And if you look at Shanghai, this could really matter if they're getting this right now, okay? Because Shanghai's got one of the longest straights in Formula One. There's no two ways about it. And if Ferrari found a clever new way to do this, This could be the key. This could be the key to the chocolate factory, lads, for them. And Ferrari are experimenting. Now, sorry, I'll go just a half a step back. When I say this could be the key to the chocolate factory, they still have got to produce on slow speed tracks to mid speed tracks to high speed tracks, right? They still have got to get the balance right. But it could mean a huge advantage for them if they go to this track, which, to be honest, I would consider this a medium to high speed track. It's not quite like Silverstone and Spa and Suzuka, but it's close enough. All right, you do have some, slow enough corners too, but it's a very flowing, free flowing momentum track, and that's very, very important. And if they can get this done, it will definitely help them from mid-speed to high-speed tracks. And then they've just got to close that gap for the other slow speed. Now, Aston Martin. Oh, lads. It's genuinely, in a way, without sounding like an a-hole here, because I love Adrian Newey, this is very fascinating too. Because if you rewind the clock, everybody expected Aston Martin to become the championship contender, right? Now, look, like I said at the start, maybe I was the only one, but I don't think so. I mean, you do have the greatest man that's ever walked the planet with aerodynamics, Adrian Newey. The man behind who dominated at Williams, McLaren, Red Bull, and cars that just won so many championships, so many drivers' championships, so many constructors' championships. I mean, the guy just rewrote the rule book, lads. Cars that dominated entire eras of Formula One. So naturally, when Aston Martin brought Newey in, everybody just assumed, right? Everybody just assumed. But Formula One, it's not that simple, you know? Right now, Aston Martin, they're struggling big time, man. They are in the S. I don't want to say any bad words. Fernando Alonso himself, he's admitted it, the team still troubleshooting. Let's call it troubleshooting problems. The car is just not where they want it to be. And not the start the team wanted, clearly. And Alonso's been very honest about the situation too. He said they're basically at square one in terms of understanding the car, which is remarkable when you think about it, because even Adrian Newey needs time to iron out problems. So lads, if you think that if you're struggling in your life at a certain thing and you're really good, if not the best, even the best get this wrong sometimes. Okay, now lads, I just want to explain what downforce is, right? I saw an article there on F1.com, and Hamilton is explaining what downforce is. Now, maybe you love his explanation, maybe not, I don't know. But I think the simplest way, without any fancy gadgets or screens, the easiest way in the world to explain downforce is this. Downforce pushes the car to the ground with air. Now, what do I mean? Imagine you're in a road car. Okay, so let's imagine you're sitting in the back seat and somebody's driving along, and then you pull the window down, you put your hand out. Now, if you're watching on the screen, you'll see the way I'm doing with this hand, okay? Now, guys, we've all done this when we were even kids. So you put your hand out and you face it like this, straight into the wind. What happens? Especially if you're going faster, if there's a wind, you can feel your hand being pushed back, right? So like there's friction, there's a resistance. Then if you actually put your hand sideways like that, all of a sudden you can feel your hand almost even flopping forward depending on the wind, right? But you can feel the resistance gone, So in other words, resistance, you turn it sideways and there's way less. Now, why am I explaining this? Because what happens is, yes, that is just going straight back. But what F1 and racing cars have managed to do is to use that, we call it energy or force, okay? The wind resistance force. They've managed to use that resistance force that you have against your hand, and they're able to manipulate that to then push the car down to the ground. So imagine that resistance now on your hand. They've been able to use all that power and force to use it to push the car down to the ground. So they're changing the direction of that wind power to the ground, and it sticks the car onto the surface. And that's why if the more downforce you put on the car, the more resistance. So imagine this. If they're on a high-speed track like Monza, they use less downforce. They use very, very little downforce. So that's like your hand being like this, okay, sideways. Whereas if they go to a full downforce track, their hand's like that. So they want more resistance and more pressure pushed down on the car. That's what downforce is. I hope I did a good explanation. Now, one other thing I'm going to throw in here, lads, a spanner in the works, is that, okay, we're all over the place chopping and changing with rule changes and regulation changes, all that, right? We still don't know. I mean, even the F1 guys that are pundits now, they're even saying we're all still learning, and none of us know exactly what's going on with these cars, and if anybody tells you that they are on TV, they're flat out lying to you. Even Adrian Newey doesn't even know, okay? Now, if Adrian Newey can't figure out the cars yet, what hope do any of us have? So don't believe anything. I'm not trying to come across as an expert right now. Certainly not. I know my racing. I know the foundations, the basics, this and that. But when it comes to these cars and predicting what's going to happen, my guess is as good as yours, lads. Honestly. Because even at Albert Park, yes, Mercedes were dominant. But at the same time, that's only the one track. And I'll just quickly say it again. You've got slow speed, mid-speed, and high-speed tracks. So you can be great at one high-speed track, but you could suck at slow to mid-speed. And all of a sudden, you're nowhere. So we still don't know yet. Now, the spanner in the works. Lewis Hamilton. He won China Sprint last year. Now, some people may be saying, well, this is looking good. And okay, I'm still flagging it as, okay, well, something to look out for here. Now, it doesn't mean that he's just a genius around the track. He obviously did a very good job last year, but he had the car to deal with it too. And it's going to be hard to know, will he have that momentum as well? Because Ferrari are giving both drivers this year the equipment, right? Sorry, not even this year. What am I saying? They always give the drivers, like I've said this before, that Ferrari are really the one team that don't have a number one and a number two driver. They give both of the drivers most of the time pretty much the same equipment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's no such thing as the exact same car. There is no such thing as the exact same car. I don't care whether you race karts, Formula Ford, 3, 2, or even Formula 1. It's always the same thing. You could have a car that's on the dyno. A dyno now is where they actually put an engine on a platform in their factory and they test the revs. They test the speed up and down. They do all the data analytics measurements. So it can perform very, very well, but you're still not going to get an exact torque, an exact horsepower, an exact top speed, an exact drag. Every engine, no matter what, is different. It's like saying every human being is different. I mean, I'll put it this way. Even identical twins are not the exact same, are they? They're not. They might look the image of each other, they might act the same, but there's always a tiny little difference. Do you know what I mean? Now, I know that's a weird comparison to talk identical twins versus Formula 1 cars. Believe me, I get it. But I'm just trying to give you a sort of an idea. There is no such thing as the same engine. So my point is this. It could be Leclerc or Hamilton at the top this weekend. If this new update they have works, well then, Ferrari could be the guys to beat this weekend. Now, they're also talking about the tyres that Pirelli are bringing to the weekend this weekend, lads. So, because there's a sprint, the drivers will receive 2 sets of hard tyres, 4 sets of medium, and 6 sets of soft tyres. Plus, obviously, intermediate and the wets, if that becomes a factor. Now, I'm just reading, beg your pardon, lads, I'm just reading what they're saying here. There's not really an update, really. I mean, look, it's the same thing. You can have. They're saying that they're choosing the C2, C3, and C4 compounds for the weekend. Okay, and obviously that boils down to the the soft, medium and hard tires. But again, it doesn't really matter what tires you use at a weekend. In other words, what I'm saying is it matters to the teams, but it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm doing a bad job of explaining this, I'd say. What I'm saying is that if Pirelli bring along these magic, right, secret Area 51 tires that are just going to change the game, it still doesn't guarantee that it's going to change the game, because the car still has to be able to adapt to these special magical tires. Do you get what I mean? So Pirelli can tell you all the facts, all the data that, oh, listen, Ferrari, oh, listen, lads, for this track, these tires, it's going to, you're good, man. You're going to kick ass. This is the key to the chocolate factory, baby. It still does not guarantee it. They can have a lot of data. They can have a lot of insight. Sure. They can have a good idea and get it right quite a lot of the time. Sure. Yeah. But if they start bringing along a new update like they are now, right? Now, guys, again, it sounds great on paper, this new feature that they have, the new update. But then it depends on what Pirelli are doing with these tires. Now, I don't think they've changed them much. I haven't, to be honest now, lads, because I'm sort of I'm pressed for a little bit of time here. I want to go on. I just read through this quite quickly. But if they have adjusted them slightly, that can completely and utterly alter everything. I mean, it's kind of like this, I know, again, another weird comparison. It's like if you're a tea drinker and all of a sudden you drink tea without sugar, all of a sudden, you've got 10 cups of tea a day, but all of a sudden somebody just says a simple little thing by adding 2 sugars to each cup of tea a day. Chances are what's going to happen? You're going to start feeling wired. You're going to be reacting differently. Then all of a sudden, because you're wired and reacted differently, then you start affecting other people around you. Then all of a sudden, then there's a ripple effect. I hope this makes sense. Maybe I'm talking through my ass, but it sounds logical in my head, all right? So give me some rope on that one. But this is the point, is that one little tiny change, and Ferrari have changed the thing already. So even Ferrari might get this perfectly right or get it perfectly wrong. Okay, lads, the track itself, it's a savage track. It's unbelievable. Honestly, this is one of my favorites of the year. Now, guys, it's bumpy. There's a couple of slow bends. Well, I suppose not really. Just maybe like turn 14 is quite a little slow. Turn 1, very, very tricky, lads. Very tricky to get all that right because it's one long flowing bend. 1, 2, 3. But it's bumpy. It actually reminds me of a track called Thruxton back in the day, where it's very high speed, especially out the back, you know. Very high speed. But the most important part of this is that it's not about getting the top speed per se. It's about getting the balance of your high-speed bends going through here and keeping it very, very smooth. If you knock off a half a mile an hour, hell, a quarter mile an hour, you can get crucified. Now, I'm kind of going back on myself here, right? So bear with me. You might think I'm sounding like a hypocrite here, but the most important corner here for me is 11 and 12. Now, that's 2 bends. 11 is left, 12 is right. But really, even though it's crucial to get a very well balanced car through those left, right, zigzag turns, okay? It's crucial. At the same time, that's what the standard should be. That's what the level should be for the drivers, okay? At the same time, if you can get the balance good, turn 11 and 12 sets you up for that long right-hander all the way down that big long straight going into turn 14. So if you can gather a half a mile an hour, a quarter mile an hour, even a mile an hour extra going through 12 and 13, and well, 11, 12 and 13, you capitalize big time going down that very, very long straight. So it's so important. It's so important to get that section right. But then again, it's very important to get, especially, well, I mean, really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, they're all very, very important because they all sort of tee each other up in many ways. So, guys, it's going to be an interesting track to see. And, I can't wait for this. Okay, so we're done, lads. We're done for the day. And I can't wait for this weekend. What about you? Are you excited for this? I would say I'm going to go predictions. And Peter, as usually, always gets his predictions wrong. But let's go for it anyway. Why not? For a bit of fun. And you can laugh at me afterwards anyway if you want. I'm going to go with Ferrari winning this weekend, Hamilton and Leclerc, simply because I think this track will suit them. The way Ferrari have been struggling for years trying to get grip in their car. In fact, I might even go back. They had too much grip at certain stages where they actually lost grip, if you get me. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing, right? So maybe that's a weird thing to sort of explain. But they had so much grip, they lost grip. So the updates this year, I think, are definitely helping them because technically, at a base level, they have less grip, but they're using the same type of principles with this new car. And I think they're clever enough to know this. And look, they won the sprint last year. Okay, it was only the sprint, but still. And then they've got that long straight, man, down the back. And I think their balance could be quite well. Hell, I'm going to go with Hamilton for the win, Leclerc second. I can't even believe I'm even saying that. And I'm going to go with George Russell for third. Hamilton for the win. In the Grand Prix now, lads, we're on about. I can't tell, to be honest, for the sprint. For the Grand Prix itself, Hamilton wins, Leclerc second, George Russell third. What do you think? See you Monday.
Walsh running the Irish green, and look at the move he's making down to the inside.
Moves to the front. What a move from fifth all the way to the lead in lap 1.
Walsh takes win number 2.
Peter. Walsh.